This is What to Do, and welcome. Glory to Jesus. This is What to Do, and welcome. Glory to Jesus. This is What to Do, and welcome.
I can see you. Mary Wanjugu, do you have a problem with the sound? Mary, kindly check from your end. Our sound seems to have to be okay. Mary, kindly check your settings. Our sound is okay from the studio, yeah? Yeah. So today I want us to have a discussion on a very interesting topic of self-control on anger. And this we are going to look at both in a relationship and in a marriage setup. Because as we've always discussed and said, is that anytime a problem is not sorted in a relationship setup, it always graduates in a marriage setup in your home. And there's nothing you can do about that. Whatever foundation you're making in your relationship is what you're going to harvest in the marriage setup. And there's something that our Father in the Lord always tells us, that you solve tomorrow's problems today. There are challenges that come in life that at times you can do away with them, or you can avoid them by doing what? Preparing or laying a foundation that is going to dim them, that is going to nip them off in your tomorrow's life. And today I want us to discuss about anger. Yes, anger. What is anger? What causes anger in a relationship, in a marriage? And this cuts across the board in both the female and the male. And there are questions that I have. I've stayed with them for like now 2 weeks. There are men who are asking us questions, serious questions, about what their wives are doing to them. So today let us try, the minutes that we have, let us try and demystify what is anger, what causes anger, how can we avoid it, if at all it is avoidable, because clearly anger is an emotion. And emotions at times, you might never know which direction they are headed. At times you might think that you're so self-controlled on this area until something happens and you blow up. What really makes people blow up? We are going to get to know about this. So we have definitions, quite definitions of what anger is. Anger is the annoyance when you have displeasure, when there's hostility, when you're irritated, when you're frustrated. And I got to check out what anger in Greek means. Anger in Greek is ankol, and it means to get strangled. you're being strangled. So like someone is trying to choke you. Quite an intense elaboration of that. So anytime that someone is angry, they are frustrated. They are feeling that things are not going the way they want to go. And it is okay to feel angry, but when it is out of bounds, when it is extreme, that's where the danger comes in. Because even in the Bible, we have verses that have come out and talked about what anger does, and if someone is consumed by anger, what they are. But then you'll find day in, day out, people are getting consumed in this. And somehow it gets someone to have a kind of a controlling, kind of a dimension in looking into life. And they get to suppress, assuming that you're in a relationship with someone, you get to suppress the other person. Maybe because they feel that they're getting scared, they cannot express themselves, so that you don't go ahead and burst up in anger, you know. Let's maybe look at two verses and then we can continue with our discussion. In Proverbs chapter 29, verse 11, it says, "A self-confident fool utters all his anger, but a wise man holds it back and steals in." So in this case, an angry person is being called a fool. And anger clearly has degrees. And in James chapter 1, verse 20, let me get there. For a man's anger does not promote the righteousness of God. A man's anger does not promote the wishes of God. So in a relationship, they have this lady, we have this man who are dating. In a marriage setup, we have the husband, the wife, who are spouses. What is this common trigger of anger? What triggers anger in a relationship, and what triggers anger in a marriage setup? Because the two of them, we have to look at them hand in hand. Because I said, anytime the foundation is destroyed, and we cannot go against that, when the foundation is destroyed, when you are dating someone, there's no way you'll say, I didn't see this coming. Because we've had cases, we've had instances when maybe one of the partners, I'll call them partners because they are people who are going out when they are in a relationship, that one of them is wroth, is full of rage, and they even end up hitting the other partner. May it be the man or the woman, because nowadays physical abuse happens with both genders. This is not the time that would say only men are physically abusing the women or they are emotionally abusing women. This thing is cutting across the board. Both the women are abusing the men and the men are abusing the women. But you'll find that in a relationship, a lady or a man, so to say, will notice that the partner is getting angry to a degree whereby they are getting physically abusive. And where the foundation comes in is, if this is not tamed, the degree of it graduating into a marital setup is 100%. And there's no way here, in my other sessions I've said that at times, let us not call a demon where there's no demon. Some of these things are your personal will. You are in a relationship with this man you are dating, and this man, his anger is uncontrolled. He's hostile in his approach to your mistakes. Or this woman is hostile towards your mistakes. Do you know the degree of this graduating to a higher thing and to a higher consequence when you get married is there are things that you cannot run away from? Because if someone is abusive, if someone gets angry to a degree whereby they can hit, they can insult you, they can throw things at you, you know, they can hurl bad words to you. This is the same thing that this person is going to do in a marriage setup. And let us not lie to ourselves. Some of these things, we see them early enough, but maybe the right word is, we are consumed into the idea of I need to be in this relationship, maybe for status quo. I need to date this man and get married because, oh, time is not on my side, you know. And you are overlooking the things that can really be detrimental in your relationship, and in this case, in a marriage setup. So, if you think about, if you think what anger does, or what triggers anger in a relationship or in a marriage, you'll find that there are things that we can, one, avoid, and two, we can run away from. Because I've always said this, that you cannot change a man, or you cannot, and a man in this case, I mean both genders. You cannot change a person. There must be that willingness for them to change. Let me see who is here with me. I hope, Mary Wanjogu, you've checked on your sound. Shiroshi, you're there. Thank you. Christine says you're there. Our doctor is there, Dr. Reverend Joseph Matco. Thank you for tuning in. Lydia Favor, thank you for tuning in. Sarah, Mrs. Benjamin, you're there. Catherine Increase, you're watching. Sam Great, you're watching. Call your people. Tell them to tune in. Let us demystify what tabulates, or what causes anger, or what anger is, because this is something that is eating us in the relationships and in our marriages. So, if any time there's someone feels that their esteem is being or their ego is being eaten to, or someone feels that they are not maybe being respected, and in this case is on the man's side, a man's greatest desire and a man's greatest need and want is respect. So at times, an untamed man, and let me use that word, an untamed man, anytime that they feel that they are disrespected, they'll get angry. And when they get angry, some of them will explode and do things that they later on get to regret about them, if at all they have a conscience, and others never get even to get remorseful about it. So in a marriage setup, there are things that causes anger to build up. And that's why I always say one thing, that if the communication lines are cut off in a relationship, may it be a marriage, may it be in a dating kind of a relationship, you don't need that. Because you as a man, or you as a lady, if you cannot talk to your spouse, and in as much as there's something that you need to clarify, and if you cannot talk to them and express yourself without the fear of being judged, without the fear of someone getting abusive to you, without the fear of someone cutting you off, then you don't need that. You don't need that relationship. And I'm sorry to say, you don't even need that marriage. Because you've seen in the recent past, the statistics of abuse in marriages is intense. And not just marriages, there are people also being abused in relationships. It's quite intense. And for real, we do not need that. You'll see a lady being chopped off her hands. It's as a result of anger. You'll see a man being chopped off his manhood. It's as a result of anger. But why are all these things happening? If we can start off, some of the contributing factors that will resort to anger. One is unmet expectations, if I may go, if I can handle it from that perspective. Unmet expectations mean that someone got into that relationship or into that marriage, and in this case is both genders, with a preconceived mind of what should be happening in there. We always say, when a lady is dating a man, and this one most of the times happens to the ladies, or to some extent to the men, you'll find that there are expectations that they are so, it's like you're building castles in the air. You'll find that you want a man to treat you in a way that you've seen other men treat their women, not knowing that people are different, backgrounds are different. So when this does not happen, and in a marriage setup, what happens? You blow up. Anything the slightest thing that happens to you, you are angry, you are wroth, you're getting strangled, like what we've just given the interpretation from the Greek. And if there are unmet expectations, or maybe at some point you thought your relationship should be headed towards this direction, and it is not headed to that direction, you get angry, and everything around you that kind of triggers that side of you, you end up blowing up. It is okay to express yourself. My husband always says this. It is okay to express yourself, but how you do it, or the consequences after that, what happens after that. So when there's unmet expectations in a relationship, in a marriage, you married this lady, you married this man, you thought, oh, you're going to be showered with things, or cars, flowers, or chocolates. You know, those things that people always figure out that the life is all about, while in real sense, that's not even life. If they comes your way, you thank God, but you should not like put a gun on someone's head to demand for things that you can see them, or you can see your friends getting. So when you get into a relationship with a certain mindset that is flawed, that you think that you can equate your marriage or your relationship to another person's, that will resort to anger if these things never get to be done by your spouse. And in this case is whichever way. You've seen a lady, she's always buying gifts for the man, and you're thinking, oh, how come so and so's wife is always doing this to the husband, and I'm not getting that? I mean, people are in different stages in life. And whatever you're not getting today, I mean, if communicated well and if it's within their reach, they can always do that, because the only thing that does not change is time. So people can change if at all there's willingness to. So if there's something you think that you expect your partner to be doing and they are not doing it, is it possible for you to communicate it in an amicable way, in a clear way, in a godly way? Because if you don't do that, you rant at them. You express your dissatisfaction in an abusive way. You even get physical about it. That is a projection of anger. And clearly, brethren, we need to tame that. Something else that brings anger in families is sexual dissatisfaction. This lane, many people don't want to walk there, but allow me to step on it today. If a man or a woman is sexually dissatisfied, and in this case, singles, I'm not talking to you at this juncture, I'm talking to the married people. If you're sexually dissatisfied, all married people, you'll attest to this. Somehow, rage everywhere. You're angry over every small thing. And there's always, and there's every other time we get to hear that if you want to calm down your spouse, do what is best for you. Give them something, I mean. And then something else that I need to correct at this point. Even when someone is having an issue with their spouse, do not close them up when they are sexually in need of you. Do not do that. But now, at this point, what I'm saying is sexual dissatisfaction is one of the things that causes anger to build up in either of the spouses. And this can only be corrected if you communicate right. Talk about it. Tell your spouse, how come nowadays you don't get to touch me? Or I have this need that is not getting met, that you're not meeting it. So if there's communication and people talk right words at their home setup, at their relationship setup, this is going to be resolved. Then something else that brings up anger is what I've just talked about, communication breakdown. Communication is a key aspect in marriages. But then what happens is that many people try and think um, giving gifts or taking someone for a trip or just getting them dinners or getting them things, yeah, will close in that. Let me tell you one thing. There's always a space for communication. There's no relationship that will survive without communication. And communication is two-way. If you feel that your partner is not good in communication, somehow you can train yourself to be the best. And in that, they can also pick it up from you. Because if the communication lines are closed, trust me, anger is building up on either of the partners, and if something small happens, there's a trigger. Frustration is happening. There's a stress levels in quotes they are getting there, and if something small happens, they get to blow up, and the consequences you'll not even like them. Um, Something else that triggers anger is when there's tension. There's maybe a misunderstanding that you had and it has not been resolved. And maybe I can give an example of uh, assuming that there's some money that was supposed to be spent to do something, and the lady used it for something else, maybe for makeup or dressing or shopping for other things, and did not use it for the purpose that it was intended for. The husband, in this case, might not raise it up at that point, but there's tension building up. He's not asked about the money. I've not done what I was supposed to do with the money. And you find that there's tension. So the slightest provocation, assuming that she gets to ask for money again, the husband might decide, okay, this is the time for me to express myself. And they blow up, they are frustrated, they project the words in a negative way, they are full of annoyance, they are full of displeasure. And all this makes people to have a life that is not worth it, because marriages are to be enjoyed, relationships are to be enjoyed. So if there's tension, do you need that? You do not need that. You do not need tension. Something else that can trigger anger is when the financial aspect. Um, when your eyes are set on the economy and things are not working for you at that point, if you're not careful and the demands of life are coming your way, if you're not careful, anger and annoyance can build up in you. And this will affect both the spouses, and if also you're in a relationship, this will also affect you people. Mhm. There's something else also that can bring anger in a relationship or in a family setup. When there's difference in backgrounds, there are different ways in which people have been raised up, and people have been taught to express themselves differently. I'm sure you'll attest to that. If someone's way of resolving something is getting annoyed or sulking, another person's way is talking about it, there's going to be an issue. So our backgrounds is something that can contribute to how we handle things and cropping up anger. So how do we get to deal with this thing in both the marriage and in the relationship setup? You'll find that you cannot handle or you cannot control that which you don't have a hold of, or that which you don't know. We've said that anger cuts across the board. And when it cuts across the board, you'll not say, someone has done something and that is why I've behaved in that way. Attitude can change many things. Assuming that your husband, in this case it's a marriage setup, assuming that your husband is annoyed and angry about something, it is okay for them to express themselves. But the degree to which they express themselves is where the issue is. Assuming that he's annoyed or he's angry about something, and as a lady, instead of approaching it in an assertive way, in an amicable way, you also decide, I can also add onto what you're going through. That is not something that is going, we are not going to like the results after that. Because anytime that someone is angry and something else comes in to gravitate towards their anger, the blowing up that is going to happen after that is massive. So what happens when your husband is angry or your wife is angry? And in this case, whoever is more mature, whoever has understanding, should be the one to tame the situation. Because in assuming that it's in a marriage setup, you'll not say, you are the head. It is okay, the man is the head of the family. But assuming that because personalities are different, you are a man and you have a wife who has a different personality. And assuming that the man is angry at this point and the woman is more controlled, the results that are going to happen after this session that they are going to have is what will determine, is the person who is more sober viable, or is he or she mature, or do they have understanding of the situation? Let me use that word. Because a man can be angry, they are rightfully at that point. And a woman can also be angry. But whoever has understanding on the consequences and how to resolve conflicts should be able to tame the situation. I mean, you can decide, let me walk out and come back and discuss this thing later. You don't need to solve a situation just because it has come up at that point. Because when you start doing that, you're going to be magnifying the problem more, you know? You're going to be magnifying the problem more. Jonathan Prosperity, I can see you. Pastor George Minda, I can see you. Martin, I can see you. So if two people are having a discussion and one gets angry, it's the person with understanding who should know how to handle that situation. It can be either the man or the woman, because this is a home, this is a relationship that people are building. So you cannot say, you being the man, you need to have control over emotions, assuming that at that time, they cannot get a hold of themselves. They are work in progress. What do? You as a woman, do you continue fueling the fire? Because most of the women, that is what we do. A man is angry, or you've done something, your husband gets furious, and instead of us keeping quiet as women, we decide, okay, you give me an answer, I give you back. You give me one, I give you another. At the end of the day, the man gets more furious, and it can get intense until someone gets battered, you know. We don't advocate for battery at all. But some of the things that happen in home setups, some of the contributing factors, we have a hand in it. There are stories that have come a long way, and then you ask yourself, okay, if this is how you're responding to people, this is how you're responding to your husband, he's wrong to have hit you, or maybe to have hurled an insult on you. But don't you think that you provoked that? And you know, personalities are different. Men are egoistic in nature. So anytime that there's a misunderstanding and there's an argument, it is always good for a wife to know the degree to which a confrontation can go with their spouse. And allow me to smile at this point, because myself, I have experience with this. There are times I'll be having a discussion with my husband, and maybe it gets heated up. And then you know, hey, the next thing that is going to happen after this, I'm not going to like it. So what do? You walk away, or you keep quiet about it. Let him calm down. And even if he was on the wrong, it is not about who is wrong and who is right. You know, these things you get to catch up, you get to learn about them later on, you know. You'd be there heckling, or you want to give your own opinion, because clearly it is an opinion. The men are they are the heads of the home. So for the woman, whatever you're giving is an opinion. It might be taken in, it might not be taken in. But also for the men, it's always good also to take the opinion and also try and massage the woman's ego and let her feel that she also has a part, she has a part in whatever decisions that you're making. So I was giving you an example of myself. So assuming that I'm in a discussion with my husband and it gets heated up, and I know at this point, any other word I'm going to utter is going to be, it's not, the feedback I'm going to get is not good. Of course he cannot batter me by the grace of God, but there's a word that can come out of his mouth, and then you go like, okay, I didn't see that coming, and I don't want that the next time, you know. So us as women, let us learn our spouses. You as men, learn your spouses. There are things that you're going to do that are going to anger the other partner, and the more you continue doing this, they're going to blow up. And as much as we are handling ourselves, as long as, and as much as we are trying to practice self-control on this area, let us be each other's keeper. If you know, if I talk this way, my spouse is going to behave this way, then when you don't have an issue that you're discussing about, can you revisit that? And that is where communication comes in. And each of the partners being free to talk. Because a relationship whereby someone is not free to talk, or there's the aspect of fear being instilled to either partner, you don't need that. This one, I'll just tell you, you do not need that. A relationship is a place that you can call home. You should be able to freely express yourself. And your expression should be taken in. And if there's any form of criticism, it should come out positively. And assuming that it does not come out positively at that point, you should be able to go back and talk to your partner and tell them whatever you said earlier did not hit the right way. Because constructive criticism can come from your partner anytime you do something. But it is upon you. At that time, maybe it can be uncomfortable. But sit back and ask yourself, okay, what I was told, is it viable? What did I do to warrant that? And when everything else has calmed down, go back and talk to your partner. Because, I mean, you are in this together. You're not running your own race. You've decided to walk down the aisle and stay with this person. So, if you need to have a home setup that is free of anger, that is free of annoyance, that every person's emotional aspect of anger is tamed, learn to communicate. And don't talk to the person, talk about the issue. Tell them, don't tell them, I don't like the way you talk to me. Talk about, there's a way you talk to me, or there are words that you use, or there's this situation that when this situation goes like this, I feel like you are not handling it well. And in that, I'd say that you cannot change someone. But the more you express yourself, who knows? They might get to the light of the day, you know? So when you practice communication and expressing yourself in whichever situation, and if something is happening, you let it lie down and talk about it later with no fear in you. Because there are things that we are coming across that you find as people are in a relationship or they're in a marriage and they fear to express themselves to their partners. Your partner is doing something, your partner is emotionally abusive, your partner maybe is also physically abusive, and you will not even dare talk to them. Why? Because you fear them. Are we in a marriage? Are we in a relationship really? No, we are not. A relationship, a marriage setup should be a place where you feel safe. If you're feeling unsafe, if you're feeling any bit of fear to express yourself, then you need to work on something. You need to have a proper discussion. You need to confront that situation in a respectable way but still in a firm way. Tell this person, the things that you do, they make me feel this way, because all these are feelings, and feelings can be controlled. Uh, at times we are not patient with each other, and that is also something that also can make us get angry when we are impatient with each other. We understand everyone is work in progress. There's no single day you'll say that you've reached the peak. And in a relationship setup or in a marriage setup, you are getting to learn your partner. You are getting to learn your husband. You're getting to learn your wife. So anytime they do something, there was never a rehearsal to this, because marriage is one institution that doesn't have a rehearsal. You can never say that I've rehearsed, or we've dated for 10 years, we've dated for, I don't know, 5 years, I know 100% about the man I'm getting involved with, or I know the woman I'm going to get involved with for the rest of my life. You can never say that. So there are things that are going to pop up in that setup. So what do? Let us practice patience. Let us be patient with each other. This is a way that we can control anger. Because when one person is angry, when one person is flared up, when one person is annoyed, and the annoyance is of the very highest degree, what do? You can start by being patient with them. And as I said earlier, when everything has calmed down, talk to them. Get a feel. Why do you always, or why does this thing always come up? Don't confront him, confront the situation. Don't confront her, confront the situation. Then also, we can also reflect on the actions, or let us reflect on what triggers anger, to avoid it in future. May it be in a relationship, may it be in a marriage. Let us look at what actions trigger it. Because I'd said women have more than 1,000 words in a day, and part of these 1,000 words, when they're angry, they'll decide to throw them the way they want to throw them. And if your man does not have is not patient with you, you might find that the situation is not anything that you want to write home about. So as partners, can we be patient with each other? When something has happened of this sort, who is more mature? The person with understanding of this situation. You who has understanding of this situation, understanding in which way you can manage the situation better. You might be the wrong person, but how are you handling it? You might be the aggrieved person. You feel offended at that point. You feel annoyed at that point, but how are you handling it? Are you going to throw things to the TV, break the TV, break everything that is breakable in that house? And there's always a joke that people always say. When people are dating, if you ever see your partner pointing at you or trying to become abusive physically in a subtle way, know that that thing is going to graduate in the marriage setup. You need to run, because we'd rather be nursing broken relationships than nursing broken hearts because of physical harm, because of deaths, because of other things that we'll not even want to discuss here, because it is not something that you'll be happy about. No one wants to go through this. And also something else that you need to notice is that anytime that you notice that someone has anger issues, you'll find that their esteem is unchecked. They have self-esteem issues. Because explain to me, how does maybe your wife cooking food and it has a lot of salt or pepper, and how does that relate with you lifting your hand and slapping them? Okay. How does your wife or your spouse not preparing the meal at the right time how does it connect to you hurling insults, you know? They do not add up. So some of these things, they are esteem issues that people have bottled up, and other aggravated things that they've put in their hearts, because this is not a blood thing. Anger, you cannot say that in our family we have anger issues. Some of these things are it's you. It's something that is in their heart, because you might have come from a family that the husband or your father or your mother were fighting. They were always angry at each other. But you can choose. You have the will to change that. It is very possible when you get understanding and get a hold of that. Because most of the things that parents do, they trickle down to their children. And that is something that we need to know as parents. We need to know as couples and as people who are in relationships. Okay, so we say how to deal with anger and in a relationship, in a marriage, is address the issues that make your partner angry in an assertive, in a firm way, and in a respectable way. This is in both sides. Also, communicate constructively. You might not need to handle that thing at that point when it has happened. But after that, you can link up and talk about it. Dad always tells us that in nature. So anytime that there's a misunderstanding and there's an argument, it is always good for a wife to know the degree to which a confrontation can go with their spouse. And allow me to smile at this point, because myself, I have experience with this. There are times I'll be having a discussion with my husband, and maybe it gets heated up, and then hey, the next thing that is going to happen after this, I'm not going to like it. So what do? You walk away, or you keep quiet about it. Let him calm down, and even if he was on the wrong, it is not about who is wrong and who is right. These things you get to catch up, you get to learn about them later on. You'd be there heckling, or you want to give your own opinion, because clearly it is an opinion. The men are they are the heads of the home. So for the woman, whatever you're giving is an opinion. It might be taken in, it might not be taken in. But also for the men, it's always good also to take the opinion and also try and massage the woman's ego and let her feel that she also has a part, in whatever decisions that you're making. So I was giving you an example of myself. So assuming that I'm in a discussion with my husband and it gets heated up, and I know at this point, any other word I'm going to utter is going to be it's not the feedback I'm going to get is not good. Of course, he cannot butter me by the grace of God, but there's a word that can come out of his mouth, and then you go like, okay, I didn't see that coming, and I don't want that the next time. So, and some resolving lady, lady, we, we've said that the relationship setup, you'll find that you cannot handle, or you cannot control that which you don't have a hold of, or that which you don't know. We've said that anger cuts across the board. And when it cuts across the board, you will not say someone has done something and that is why I've behaved in that way. Attitude can change many things. Assuming that your husband, in this case it's a marriage setup, assuming that your husband is annoyed and angry about something, it is okay for them to express themselves. But the degree to which they express themselves is where the issue is. Assuming that he's annoyed or he's angry about something, and as a lady, instead of approaching it in an assertive way, in an amicable way, you also decide, I can also add onto what you're going through. That is not something that is going, we are not going to like the results after that, because anything is massive. So what happens when your husband is angry or your wife is angry? And in this case, whoever is more mature, whoever has understanding, should be the one to tame the situation. Because in assuming that it's in a marriage setup,